My in-laws demanded that I agree to a prenuptial agreement, declaring, "This is Adam's property, and you'll walk away empty-handed." They gloated triumphantly once I came into $22 million, right up until I presented the divorce documents and revealed precisely what that prenup stated. I should have walked out the moment his mom handed me that prenup with a smug grin on her face. But I didn't, because I was head over heels and I believed Adam was unlike them. I was mistaken. When I first encountered Adam, I was doing fine on my own. I held a stable position in software development, resided in a decent apartment in San Diego, and was self-sufficient financially. I wasn't wealthy, but I wasn't scraping by either. Adam, conversely, had been raised in affluence. His folks, Evelyn and Richard, ran a property firm and had indulged him throughout his life. They purchased him a home in La Jolla, covered his university fees, and secured him a comfortable role in their business. He was accustomed to a particular way of living, one I never prioritized. Early in our relationship, I sensed his parents' disapproval of me. Evelyn would pose sharp inquiries about my history, my career, my family's standing. Richard hardly addressed me. They weren't blatantly impolite, but they made it evident I wasn't their ideal match for their prized son. But Adam, he made me feel valued. He assured me he disregarded his parents' opinions, that he adored me. And foolishly, I trusted him. When Adam popped the question, I was ecstatic. I figured his family would at last embrace me. Instead, they summoned us for supper and ambushed me. Evelyn filled her wine glass, offered me a strained smile, and remarked, "Before proceeding, we must address something crucial." Richard produced a file folder and pushed it over the table. A prenup. "This is merely routine," Evelyn stated, appearing nearly indifferent. "It safeguards Adam and guarantees that, should a divorce occur, you won't claim anything that isn't yours." I glanced at Adam, expecting him to stand up for me. He simply sat there, gazing at his dish. Richard coughed. "This is Adam's home, his holdings, his prospective estate. If it falls apart, you'll depart with whatever you brought, whatever I brought. I had never solicited funds from them, never suggested I desired a share of their riches. Yet there they were, regarding me as some fortune hunter aiming to latch onto their son." Evelyn grinned. "I'm certain you comprehend." I did. I grasped precisely their view of me. I should have departed, but I was enamored, and I reasoned I don't require their funds. This won't be relevant, so I endorsed it. And they appeared so incredibly satisfied with themselves. The initial year was positive. The second year was acceptable. By the third, I began noticing the flaws. Adam shifted. Or perhaps I just began observing things I'd overlooked previously. He grew complacent, overly so, ceased putting in effort. Stopped viewing me as important. Whenever I raised it, he'd dismiss it and claim I was overreacting. Worse, he began echoing his mother. Minor remarks, subtle jabs. "Are you truly wearing that? Perhaps you should consider Botox. You ought to appreciate that I handle matters," ignoring that I worked full-time, ignoring that I contributed equally to costs despite residing in a home his parents provided him. But to him, it was always his home, his funds, his existence. I was merely fortunate to participate. His parents naturally fostered this. They would arrive uninvited, critique my decorating choices, grumble if I rearranged anything. It was obvious they still considered it their property, and I was merely a short-term visitor. "You're so fortunate Adam provides for you," Evelyn would comment with a sly smile. I was tired of debating, tired of striving for respect in a home where I'd never be viewed as equal. And then, unexpectedly, everything transformed. My uncle died. We weren't tight, but he had no kids and few kin. I didn't dwell on it until his attorney contacted me. He bequeathed me all, $22 million. When I informed Adam, he paused. His initial response wasn't surprise or condolence, it was, "Hold on, how much?" And abruptly, just like that, I was valuable. His parents, who had spent years treating me like I was expendable, suddenly couldn't cease commending me. Evelyn asked me to lunch, me, solo. She beamed across the table and said, "I always recognized you were exceptional." Richard, who had scarcely conversed with me in 6 years, suddenly desired to discuss commerce, inquiring if I had intentions for my windfall. Adam. He turned considerate, affectionate, suggested we take trips, acquire real estate. I allowed them to rejoice, permitted them to think they had succeeded, because as they busily celebrated their lucky shift, I was occupied consulting my attorney and retrieving the prenup they had so kindly compelled me to sign. The identical prenup that shielded all of Adam's possessions, but offered no protection for mine. I kept silent, not immediately, I just smiled, and began organizing my departure. I went along for weeks. I let Adam believe we were abruptly the ideal pair once more. I let his parents assume I was finally deserving of their attention. I heard as Adam outlined grand schemes for my funds. He began suggesting purchasing a new getaway residence. Then, it was renovating his home. Then, it was funding his dad's firm because it's simply logical to retain the riches within the family. Not once did he inquire what I wished to do with it. Because to him, my funds weren't truly mine, and that's when I realized he had never truly loved me. I had merely been a stand-in, a suitable spouse, a favorable image for his family. And now that I possessed something they coveted, they all chose to feign that I was significant. So I fulfilled my part. I smiled at their insincere praises. I permitted Adam to charm me. I allowed Evelyn to hook arms with me at brunch as if we were close pals. And meanwhile, I was taking action. First, I established a separate bank account in my name only, transferred my inheritance there. Adam had no entry. Then I engaged an attorney. I needed to understand precisely what I faced. And that's when we reviewed the prenup clause by clause. It emerged that Evelyn and Richard had been so intent on guarding their own funds that they neglected to add a provision shielding Adam from me. If we separated, he wouldn't receive a penny of my funds. Not a cent. I almost chuckled when my attorney highlighted it. The exact document they had imposed on me, the one meant to guarantee I'd depart with zilch, was now the very element that would safeguard me. But I wasn't finished. I began readying to depart. Gradually, I disentangled my life from Adam's. I collected every financial record required. I discreetly began searching for my own residence, a seaside property in La Jolla, mine. Fully paid, and once in position, I simply needed to await one last trigger. And naturally, Adam supplied it. Adam began arriving home late. Initially, I assumed perhaps he was merely occupied after all. He was abruptly laboring so diligently to wow me, attempting to persuade me that we needed to pursue major investments jointly. But then one evening his phone vibrated while he was showering. I looked at it, and there it was. A text from someone called Sophia, eager to see you tonight again. Last time was incredible. I felt nada, no hurt, no astonishment. Just a chilly, advancing feeling of conclusion. I tapped on their exchanges, months of messages, images, arrangements. It had been ongoing for ages, likely before my windfall. And that's when I understood Adam wasn't solely pursuing my funds. He was attempting to lock down his future prior to abandoning me. He believed he was manipulating me, but he had no clue what awaited. I didn't challenge him. Not immediately. Instead, I contacted a private detective. If Adam wanted to play foul, I'd play wiser. It didn't take much time. Within 7 days, I had pictures, footage, evidence. Adam with Sophia, at lodgings, at pubs. Kissing her, caressing her, gazing at her in a manner he hadn't with me in years. Ideal. I delivered the proof directly to my attorney. Prepared, I inquired. She grinned. Let's proceed. One night, Adam returned home cheerful. He pecked my cheek, served himself a beverage, and began chattering about some excellent business prospect his dad urged him to pursue. That's when I pushed the divorce papers across the table. He furrowed his brow. What's this? Examine it. He scanned the pages. His look shifted from bewilderment to dread. You're joking, he uttered, chuckling uneasily. I wasn't. He sneered, shaking his head. You do know you'll receive nothing, correct? I mean whatever attorney you retained, but the prenup. I retrieved my version of the prenup. The same one his parents had so arrogantly compelled me to endorse. I turned to the specific section my attorney had noted. The one that declared Adam had no entitlement to any funds or possessions I acquired during the union. His face paled. This isn't, he began, leafing through the sheets as if hoping for an escape clause. You and your folks ensured I'd depart with none of yours, I stated. You simply overlooked ensuring you'd obtain any of mine. Quiet. Evelyn and Richard weren't present to assist him. No contingency, no 11th hour rescue. He was solo and I wasn't done. I produced the packet. Incidentally, I remarked, tone airy, relaxed. You may want to view these. I scattered the images of him and Sophia on the table. His infidelity, in crisp detail. He froze entirely. I smiled. I'll inform my attorney you've reviewed all, I said. We'll connect soon. Then I seized my purse, my keys, and exited the door, abandoning Adam solitary in his home. The home I no longer needed to feign was mine, and I wasn't concluded yet. I didn't receive contact from Adam that evening, or the following day. Then Evelyn phoned, not Adam, not his dad, his mom. I stared at my device, observing her name blink on the display. I let it chime, then once more. Then a third instance. At last I answered, how could you inflict this on Adam? I nearly chuckled. Inflict what? Abandon him, separate from him, reveal him for betraying, you are demolishing his existence, she barked. And why? Some trivial vengeance? Oh, this was ironic. You compelled me to endorse a prenup. You clarified I was insignificant in your clan, and now you're upset because I'm departing. You're obliterating him. No, I responded serenely. I'm merely permitting him to confront the repercussions of his own deeds. She fell quiet briefly. Then in a deeper, harsher voice she uttered, "You'll rue this." And then she disconnected. I reclined, breathing out. Oh, so that's their approach? Okay. The subsequent days were silent, excessively silent. Then my attorney rang. They're challenging the prenup. I blinked. What? They're attempting to assert it should be invalidated due to inequitable conditions. I erupted in laughter. Inequitable. They had drafted the blasted thing, but Evelyn and Richard weren't foolish. They were influential. They had networks. They had wealth. And now that they realized Adam was exiting with zilch, they were rushing to discover a method to halt it. But I had anticipated this. I had readied for this, and I had one additional advantage to deploy. The date of our judicial session came. Adam, Evelyn, and Richard appeared with 3 attorneys. I appeared with mine, and a forensic auditor. See, while they were occupied seeking a way to seize my funds, I was occupied probing theirs. And what I uncovered? Dubious transactions, tax evasion, concealed holdings. Evelyn and Richard had been manipulating their firm's records for years. And now? I possessed all the papers, the evidence, and the proofs. So when their attorney arrogantly attempted to contend that the prenup was unjust, my attorney leaned ahead, positioned a hefty pile of documents on the desk, and declared, before addressing that, Your Honor, we have material to submit. I observed as Evelyn's face drained of hue. Richard tensed. Adam merely appeared perplexed since he lacked awareness of the events. Then the judge perused the files, glanced up, and stated, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, do you grasp the severity of what I'm examining? Evelyn visibly wavered in her chair. Richard's mouth tightened. Adam, he still hadn't grasped. Your enterprise has been involved in fiscal wrongdoing, my attorney proceeded. And considering Adam is also registered as a manager, he could be implicated too. That's when Adam finally vocalized. What? No, I don't manage finances. I don't. He pivoted to his parents. Mom, Dad, but they weren't regarding him. They were regarding me, because they at last comprehended I wasn't merely departing. I wasn't merely claiming my funds and exiting. I was dismantling them alongside. Everything disintegrated rapidly. The judge declined to discard the prenup. My windfall stayed solely mine, but Evelyn and Richard. They were abruptly confronting a comprehensive fiscal probe. Adam? Well, his name appeared on multiple of those deceitful deals. Whether he genuinely knew the details was irrelevant. On record, he was entangled. And that meant he was under scrutiny as well. The home vanished, the enterprise suspended, the standing they had invested years upholding, ruined, and me, I exited, affluent, liberated, invulnerable. Evelyn's final words to me resonated in my mind, you'll rue this. No, Evelyn, you will. Adam attempted contacting me, repeatedly. Initially, he was furious. You framed me. You wrecked my existence. Then he was frantic. We can resolve this. Just converse with me. Then he wept. I disregarded every contact. Evelyn and Richard, they faced larger issues. The IRS was swarming their firm. Examiners were locking their accounts, dissecting their files. Their acquaintances, the affluent and influential individuals they had spent years dazzling, were absent. I learned via a shared contact that they were compelled to offload their Rancho Santa Fe estate to fund legal costs. And Adam. With his parents sinking, he possessed nothing remaining. The home I had once occupied, the one they had vowed I'd never obtain, repossessed. The funds they assumed would eternally shield them, depleted. The standing they prized above all, annihilated. And me, I was ultimately liberated. Months afterward, I received a call from a known number. Sophia. Yes, that's Sophia, Adam's paramour. I considered disregarding it, but intrigue prevailed. She sounded enraged. You're a B*****ch, you realize. She snarled the instant I responded. I reclined in my seat, grinning. I presume Adam didn't disclose everything? Quiet. Then a resentful chuckle, he's penniless. I uttered nothing, allowing her to rant. He promised me we'd begin fresh together, that we'd have funds, a home, all, but following your courtroom maneuver, he's got zilch. I nearly sympathized with her. Nearly. Instead, I emitted a gentle sound. So what do you expect me to do? Her tone sharpened. He's your spouse. I chuckled. Not any longer. Then I disconnected. I don't ponder Adam much these days. But I did catch wind via rumors that, after all collapsed, he relocated back with his parents. Except now it wasn't in a lavish property. It was in a leased apartment, with no firm, no riches, no standing, and me? I settled into my own oceanfront home in La Jolla, completely owned. No relatives-in-law, no domineering spouse. No one claiming I was fortunate to be part of their realm. Because now, I had constructed a superior one.